Morning, it's Richard Moore from Racing Profits Guides, and we're here at Southwell Racecourse with Mandy Rowland. Mandy's a local trainer who's been training around Southwell area for how long, Mandy?
About 15 years now.
15 years. And when did you start training?
15 years ago. Started first of all with point-to-point horses,
Right.
then had a permit, trained my own, and then took out a full licence from there.
Right. And how many horses have you got?
We've got 12 in at the moment, mainly flat horses, one bumper mare, and then two young 3-year-olds that we're just backing, which will go jumping by Generous.
Okay, and you're here working at Southwell this morning. Do you use Southwell quite a lot for working out?
Yes, we do. The ground staff here are brilliant, and it's very handy because I only live roughly 9 miles away. So when we have the frost in the winter, they'll do it the track for us. So we're never really stuck for working horses.
So you've got gallops at home as well, have you?
Yeah, we've got 2 gallops. One's a mile uphill, sand gallop and turf. And then we have a 6.5 furlong flat round gallop.
So you send horses to the all-weather tracks around the country, Kempton, Lingfield, Wolverhampton and Southwell. How do you think the fibre sand differs from the other surfaces, the poly track?
It would be a lot slower surface.
Slower?
Yeah, it would ride slower. Like Wolverhampton would ride far quicker than Kempton than Southwell. And it depends on what rain we've had. As like today, it needed watering. Because the wetter it is, the quicker it will ride.
Lovely, yeah. And do you think that the track itself's quite a fair track at Southwell then?
Yes, it is, and there's plenty of room. You don't get so many people sort of can't get through. Gaps open easier here. Course is really wide. Yeah, it's a fairly fair track.
And we talked about the finishing straight at Wolverhampton being quite a short one. How do you find Southwell? Is that quite a...
That's easier because you know you've got a longer straight from turning in. You can get out of trouble, whereas Wolverhampton, turning in, if you're in trouble, and if a gap don't open, you're absolutely stuck.
Yeah. So you said that your horses tend to prefer the longer straights just to finish off, certainly Chocolate Drop.
Yeah, most of mine are hold-up horses, they're not front runners, so if you're holding one up and you have to come late, again, if the gap doesn't open, then you can't get through, and you have to sit and suffer.
So do you think that Southwell suits hold-up horses or more the front runners?
I think more horses that run handy here because some of the horses won't face the kickback. Here you would get more kickback than at Wolver or Kempton. And if horse won't face the kickback, you need to sit up handier to keep out of it.
And just explain to people who are watching this who don't know what the kickback is. It's talked about a lot at Southwell, kickback. Can you just explain what it is, kickback? Yeah,
when the horse is galloping and the feet hit the floor, they're flicking the sand back to the horses behind. So therefore, if you've got, you know, half a dozen horses in front of you and all them are kicking the surface back at you, obviously, you're going to get a lot of sand kicked in your face. That's why a lot of the jockeys, if you notice, they wear like masks. So they're covering their own faces up and the goggles, and
so
whereas the horses don't. Yeah, that's right.
So that means that it does favour the handy horses that are up at the front because they're not getting as much distraction, if you like. Is it more of a distraction thing than a breathing thing then?
I think it is more of a distraction. I mean, if, like yourself, you've not rode around there, even with one horse in front of you, it really does scold.
Does it?
Yeah.
It really feels it,
yeah.
Right, we've talked a bit about the track itself. What about the horses? Is there any particular breed of horse that you think does well here? I know people talk a lot about the US dirt-bred horses and their offspring doing well here. I
would say that's right, the American horses. You know, they are bred to go on the dirt as opposed to the turf, and it probably would suit those horses more so than, you know, the English bred horses. Any particular breeds that you'd look for if you were looking for a horse that you thought would do well here? No, just ones that run fast enough. So it is a horse that will run handy, a nice strong galloper. Yeah. You need a horse that can, you know, jump early here, get a good posse, and be able to keep the gallop up. You know, because nobody wants to be in the kickback, so it's always quite quick here from out the gates. It always runs the first furlong. You know, they go very quick. So getting that position early in the race is vital. Right, and what about the different distances? Do you find that the the middle distance races are run slightly different tactically to the shorter run? No, they're all the same. Yeah, they always want to get a posse. Yeah. And what about the bias? Do you think there is any bias across the track? Because people often say on the 5 furlong course that there's a bit of bias on the lower numbered stalls. I don't think so, not on the 5 furlong. The only thing with here is because they work the surface for people galloping, often the inside would ride slower.
So more in the winter when they've done it overnight.
Yeah.
it's
The
something-
middle, the middle of the track is the best ground to work on.
because it always stays fairly even.
Yeah.
And we were talking to Rod about the track, and he says that often jockeys look for where the tyre tracks of the tractor's
That's
been
right,
even.
where it would ride firmer. That's right,
because
yeah.
It does compress it a bit more.
That's right, yeah.
And so you were telling me earlier about the weather does affect the surface here quite a lot. Can you just explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, the more water it has on, the firmer it will ride. It's a little bit like if you go to the beach, where the sea goes out, you'd walk on that and that would be quite firm.
Yeah.
The drier it gets, the deeper you go. And like today, it's riding quite dead. Obviously now they were just starting to water ready for racing today to sort of firm it up.
Yeah, you said it was riding quite slow when you were out earlier.
Yeah.
And what's the, is that just because it's the sand then? The polytrack doesn't do that, does it? Because of the wax coating they have on that to bind it.
Polytrack rides the same all the time.
Yeah. But in the winter you tend to find that Southwell's one of the only tracks that stays on. Is that because they can keep moving it and working it overnight?
I think that's it, yeah. I mean, they work the track all through the night, salt it, and it just keeps the surface, raceable.
So, and in the winter, obviously they work the ground quite a lot to keep it running right through the winter. And you said that the sand also tends to migrate towards the inside, does it?
What happens is that because they work the surface more on the inside, it always rides a little bit slower than what it does down the middle of the track. That's why often people do come down the middle of the track here once they come round the last bend. Yeah.
And talking of jockeys and the way they ride the course, who do you think rides the course best around here?
Well, Hayley Turner, she rides well around here and she is a local person.
She is,
I mean, I like Adam Kirby. I find he's a good jockey. He's as good on turf as he is on any all-weather track.
He's strong
He
rider.
is very strong. We've just started using a young £5 claiming apprentice, Raul de Silva.
Oh, right, yeah.
He's an up-and-coming young jockey. Rides very
Has he
well.
ridden round here a bit, round Southwell?
He rode one for me. He rode Chocolate Drop here actually the other day.
Oh, good.
Yeah, he rides around here, rides well.
And Chocolate Drop, you said, won here on his when he was 2-year-old, was it?
As a 2-year-old, yes. Since then he's been on the all-weather. He's won at Kempton, Wolverhampton, and then 2 on the turf for me at Redcar and Nottingham.
Very good. Okay, well, thanks for your time and thanks for a bit of an insight as what trainers look for at Southwell.